So this book, The AI Revolution in Chess by Joshua Doknjas, is an attempt to show what happened after 2018 when AlphaZero beating Stockfish in a very incredible manner brought the idea of a neural network and obviously programmers took that in other engines. They applied it to other engines, and it started to be evaluated the positions in a completely different manner. And of course this reflected on human chess because the top chess players were all using engines to prepare themselves, right? So that was the reason why this book was written. Here you can see the chapters. The part 1 is about the opening developments, part 2 middle games, ideas and dynamics, and part 3 the conclusion. Here I will show you a game played by 2 engines and then by 2 humans. So the book has a total of 67 games. Here is game 27, played between AlphaZero and Scorpio NN. NN stands for neural network. E4, C5, knight F3, D6, D4, C takes D4, knight takes D4, knight F6, knight C3, E6, Najdorf, bishop G5, E6. And you must know that this is a game from T-Czech in 2019, so this is the starting position of a game, because generally they create these opening libraries that are used for both the games. The engine plays one game with white, one game with black, and they play the same opening, so they can try to establish which one is better. AlphaZero played F3. Considering how 7 F4 is the most popular choice by an extremely wide margin, this move looks bizarre. White is combining 2 of the most popular setups against the Najdorf, bishop G3, G5 and the English attack. The purpose of playing 7 F3 is to create an English attack-like setup. Now that black has committed to putting his pawn on E6. However, this appears to be at most a slight inconvenience for black. A more significant problem seems to be white's bishop on G5, which blocks the G pawn from advancing to G5. Nevertheless, as we will see in this game, things are not that simple. Bishop E7. Instead, the next game, because obviously the authors wish to show you what the computers did for the humans and then how did the humans convert it in their practice, the next game is played with H6 instead by Maxime Lagrave, I cannot pronounce his name, sorry, MBL, against Carlsen. However, that game ends up in a draw, while this game ends up in white winning. So Queen D2, castle, and here the author says it makes a lot of sense for black to delay castling and focus on the queen side with B5. Yeah, but probably the computer doesn't have a lot of sense, and this is the AI. And here he gives some lines to show what happened instead with B5 and not castling right away, okay? So, castle, B5, and now there is a good move by the computer, which is H4. It seems that in this position, Carlsen played A3. So let's see what Carlsen played, because maybe we are interested in that, right? Carlsen A3, bishop B7, king B1, knight BD7, And now there is a mistake. Queen e1, h4 was better. And this queen e1 was Carson choice in Carson versus Giri, chess 24 in 2020. The move is typical for the line because white wants to meet d5 with e5. Okay, however, there is a tactical problem. There is a tactical problem. Okay, so let's see what is the tactical problem. So it seems that Giri played this move, and instead the problem here is the following. Knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes g5, knight takes d6, bishop d5. And the trade of minor pieces has provided black with a clear advantage. Okay, you say so. I don't know. Again, for top players, probably they know how to convert. I don't know if a human player, a club player, is able to actually see the difference. However, it's good this. And we will return now back to the original position. I will pause the video for a second. Okay, we were more or less here, and here Lila played h4, okay? Bishop b7, king b1, knight bd7, a3, and h5. Here it says slowing down white expansion on the king side. Again, here there are some lines that you can check or not. Obviously, we are in 2024, maybe the engines have changed opinion, so I don't care much to show you the line. Instead, I care about the fact that some of these moves, like to slow the expansion of the enemy, are now typical, and maybe they are what we learn from engines. Maybe. So here, however, there are a lot of lines and explanation that goes into the book. So the book is well done in this sense. So rook h3, exclamation point. Question: what is Lila Zero idea with rook h3? So try to guess, and then when you are done, hear the explanation. There are several useful purposes of rook h3. In some variation where the b7, h1, b7, h1 diagonal open up, the rook is much safer on h3. There are also some ideas of playing rook g3 followed by bishop h6. Lastly, the rook is simply more useful on h3 than on h1, as we will see in the game. The rook h3 serves a defensive purpose along the fourth rank and can be used to double the rooks on the h5. Okay. He says the immediate g4 was also possible. Okay, and here I explain and give some material about it. So queen c7. Obviously there were other possible moves. Again, to say that one move is wrong or right in this kind of opening that is huge, and we are just at move 13, sometimes it's more a kind of taste, especially for humans, than for humans at club player level. At grandmaster level, I don't know. g4, h take g4, f take g4. Well, definitely this move makes sense now, right? Because before it seems that there were a lot of pawns, now there are not anymore. Knight c5 and queen e2. After queen e2 there is a diagram, and here it says, practically, you know, when you see a diagram you need to pause a second, okay, instead of just continues with the moves. Now try to ask yourself taking with the pawn e4 is good or not? Knight c takes e4. Is it a good move or not? For what I can tell you from the book, no, it's not a good move at all. Knight f e4, it's a little better, okay? So, but the black engine played rook a b8. And now there is bishop g2, queen b6, b4, knight a4, and bishop c1. And this has an exclamation point, this move, bishop c1. A very powerful idea. By retreating the bishop, the g-pawn can move forward. More importantly, the bishop will find a home on b2, where it serves as a defensive piece and as an attacker pointing at the g7 pawn. Okay, so how did it continue? Knight d7, knight takes a4, b takes a4, bishop b2, knight e5, h5, and bishop g5. Here there is another diagram. So again, if there is a diagram, it means that probably you have to start to think. You are white, what would you play as white in this position? Okay? And let's go to C. How to continue the attack. So it's an exercise. The book also gives you exercises so you can actually think and learn something. Well, white continue with h6, a move that probably wasn't easy to find, right? G takes h6, rook d h1, a5, b5, and now obviously the threat is rook takes h6, okay, knight g6, knight f3, and e5, knight takes g5, h takes g5, queen f1, it's obviously want to go here and give checkmate there, queen d8, and bishop c1 again. This bishop switches back to c1 h6 diagonal to target the weak g5 pawn, and black's position collapses. So it collapses like this: bishop c8, bishop f3, queen f8, sorry, queen f6, rook h5, rook takes b5, king a1, d5, obviously he's trying to activate that, bishop takes g5, queen d6, attacking here, it's a checkmate, queen takes b5, queen takes a3, king b1, queen d6, rook h6, d4, bishop e2, bishop d7, rook takes g6, f takes g6, bishop c4, bishop e6, bishop h6, d3, bishop takes e6, queen takes e6, bishop takes f8, d takes c2, king c1, g5, bishop c5, queen f6, queen e8, king g7, queen h8, king f7, rook h7, king g6, and now there is rook h6, and white wins. Now there is a very complicated battle between Carson and M. Vachier-Lagrave in the London Classics 2019, and also this game was played in 2019, the game you just saw. So let's see how that game went and how it was influenced by this computer knowledge. Okay, so Carson is white, Vachier-Lagrave black, London Classic 2019, e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, and then we have knight c3, a6 the Najdorf, bishop g5. Okay, the English attack move order is f3, e6, and blah blah blah. Okay, let me show you in case you want to know what is the English attack. f3, e6, bishop e3, b5, queen d2, knight bd7, a3, h5, castle, bishop b7 is a more common way of reaching the position that arises in the game. See the position after black's 11th move. And now I will return back, okay, and pause a second the video. Okay, so let's continue with e6, f3, and h6. Faced with the surprise on move 7, MVL didn't try to find the most critical test of Carson's unusual setup. Instead, he finds a transposition to a line that he was familiar with from the English attack. Bishop e3, b5, e3, knight bd7, queen d2, bishop b7, and castle. And here there is a diagram showing that now black plays h5, and it says black has spent 2 tempi on h6, h5, and white has also spent 2 tempi on bishop g5, e3. So we have transposed to a line from the English attack, and it showed us before, right? The middle game is full of subtleties and move orders, often centering around 2 ideas: black playing d5 and white playing g4. Usually, if one side gets their idea in favorably, they will obtain a very pleasant position. Besides pushing the pawn to h5, black can consider d5, but it seems it wasn't so good, rook c8, and here it gives some line from the theory. Okay, so after h5, white plays king b1, bishop e7, queen e1. At the time of writing, theory is very undeveloped in these lines, and players often improvise and go their own way. Still, it is more common in practical and correspondence chess to develop with rook g1 and bishop e2. Okay, but in practical, this is the practical game, right? So I don't know. In correspondence chess, the problem is that they are using computers. So obviously, in correspondence chess, if you are able to use stockfish, you use stockfish, right? And so you know what are you moving. Okay. It seems that this line was played also before, because here it gives a long line which at move 17 MVL played like bishop f8, so this was played before, no? And then always in move 17 there was an improvement with g6, always played by MVL. So imagine how he says the theory is undeveloped, but it seems MVL theory is kind of good up to here, right? Okay, so after queen e1, there is rook c8. Rook g1, like the computer says that you should do. queen c7. Carson provided some insight into the ideas of this middle game. After the game, it revolves around whether or not black can achieve d5 under favorable circumstances. And g3. Question: what is the idea behind g3? g3 has several purposes. White intends to meet d5 with bishop f4. Okay, so g3 is supporting f4. If black doesn't play d5, white can play rook g2 next. Interesting. And white can consider h3 next, because h4 will not restrain the king side. Okay, and this means there is also bishop g5, a possibility. Again, as you can see, this is a theoretical battle for grandmasters that actually remember all this theory, right? Because after g3, knight e5, rook g2. From g2 the rook defends the c2 pawn. However, it was better to play h3. Okay, thank you. Castle, h3, d5. It is necessary to carry out this advance now, because white was ready to open the king side with g4. Okay. f4, knight c4, e5, knight takes e3, queen takes e3, and the knight e4. Knight takes e4. Now we see the importance of a rook on g2. But however, there is still here, so I don't know. And d takes e4. And rook e2. The next critical moment has been reached, and the e4 pawn is about to be picked up by bishop g2 and e4. So he must continue playing energetically. Bishop d5, aiming to target Carson weak queenside light squares. Opening up the queenside immediately was another attacking idea that also deserved attention, with b4. While it seems, yeah, here there is a big line that finished like at move 27, so I don't know if someone can really see 5 moves ahead like an engine would do easily. In any case, bishop g2, queen c4, now we see the targeting coming up, knight b3, and bishop c5. Knight takes c5, boom, queen a2, king c1, and now it says a very complicated position has arisen. Not only are the lines challenging to calculate accurately, but the resulting positions are incredibly difficult to evaluate as well. This is especially the case in the 28 knight a4 lines below. Okay. Rook fd8, c4, great move, b takes c4, and rook e d2. Now, this is what the author was saying. It seems that there is this move to play, knight a4, and here there are 2 very long lines that give you the idea if white is able to escape or not. Okay, so that's what he was saying about this line. So after rook e d2, the game continues with queen a1, rook c2, king c2, rook queen e2, a2, and tack, 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 and this is a draw. So obviously none of the two opponents wanted really to risk to discover if white escapes or not. And here at the end of the chapter there is a review. He also gives you additional games that you should look for to understand. It's a book that tells you and chronicle how the AI revolution in chess actually change the way we play at top level, because probably at my level there is not much difference. In any case, I hope you will enjoy the book.